Hi everyone, this is Raymond Wood at the Raymond Wood podcast. Wow, have we got an exciting episode for you. The person sat next to me not only is a football superstar, but probably one of the greatest football players on the planet to have ever existed. Just for my younger listeners, and I told you this was coming, he's won 3 Champions Leagues, he's won 7 Premier Leagues, or First Division titles as it was called then, and many, many more titles as a coach working for Liverpool Football Club. A big thank you and a welcome to Phil Thompson for joining us.
Hi, lovely to meet you, Ray.
Thank you for joining us. So we're going to talk about a little bit today about the inside the mind of a football legend. And we did speak a little bit earlier on about we try and help football players, boys and girls, all around the planet to set a pathway to the professional player pathway. And before we do this and we get into it, just a reminder for all of our listeners, if you like, comment and subscribe. And we have 25 Premier League jerseys to give away at the moment. So if you like, comment and subscribe, you could be one of those winners. Now, Phil, just to put that into perspective, and we just spoke about it and we were just talking about it off air, 3 Champions League winners' medals, 7 league titles, and you got to captain and lift the Champions League. That's pretty not bad for a Kirkby boy.
Do you know what? It's quite extraordinary doing an interview just in the last couple of days for a guy from the Times. And him, before he came and we had the chat, he had a look and he said, my goodness, he says, you look at what you did at Liverpool. He says, how do you feel about that? And I said, to be honest, I think about it. And I said, it's weird. Yeah. I said, to think of the things that I actually done. I said, now when I sit in the posh seats when I'm not doing LFC TV. It's lovely that I'm sitting there in the boardroom and then I'm sitting there in the posh seats and I look down at the beautiful turf that is Anfield now and did I actually do all those things? What I did? Play 477 times, scored 13 goals. Quite prolific to Jamie Carragher, that is. So it was quite unique to think of all the things that I'd done being a Liverpool fan. You know, I was from Kirkby, but I was born about a mile away from Anfield in Kensington. So I'd been a Liverpool fan since I was a fetus.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get much better to do what I did. And that 60s was a wonderful time. And I know for the younger ones, you're in the 60s, Liverpool was the centre of the universe. We had the best music with the Beatles, the Mersey beat. We had the best comedians. We had the best football teams. So it was a wonderful time growing up, being a Liverpool fan.
Being a Liverpool fan and then obviously becoming a Liverpool player. So that's a great introduction to everyone. We're going to get straight into it and talk about the early years. So we said about, growing up in Kensington. Now, I never knew that because I grew up in Kirkby until I was 10, 11 and we got moved to Anfield for 6 years and then got moved back to Kirkby.
I did vice versa. I was born in Kensington but moved up to Kirkby when I was 4 or 5 and it was going up there and seeing the green fields of Kirkby.
Yeah.
Was quite extraordinary from Kensington, having a backyard, toilet outside. Yeah. But now we had the toilets inside. So for me as a young kid, it was so impressionable and different.
Yeah. So was it mum and dad who sort of drove you a little bit towards football, or was it more the environment around being friends or cousins?
I think it was the environment because there was nothing else to do, Ray. Yeah. You know, and I'm a lot older than you. But I was quite fortunate because literally our house backed onto a school called St. Joseph's.
Yeah. Their
playing fields. So literally we could go out there. If we wanted to play in the street, there was no cars. So we could play from lamppost to lamppost. We could have games. And it was like one ball between half of the street.
Yeah.
So literally, and that was always our family because there was my older brother and myself, Owen. We'd always have a ball of some sort. So they'd always come round with either play on the backfield or we'd play. So you honed your skills just playing the ball back and forward against the wall.
Yeah.
And it coming off, it was a thing called spot. S-P-O-T.
Yeah.
And so it was there, you play against somebody and you had to keep rattling this ball, pass control. Sounds quite simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what I was to go on and learn under the great Bill Shankly was the biggest things that he wants, pass control and move.
Yeah. And that's one of the big things that we've discovered. Like, a lot of our players are based in Australia and we've got a few in the USA as we spread around the globe. But we go back to the simplistic terms of just keep it simple. And that's not really taught nowadays. You notice that?
I think it's come back more to what we're seeing now, right? To what it was back in the day. Bill Shankly, it was all about simplicity, passing it to the nearest red shirt, giving it, but passing it early. And you think, oh, what's this pass? I can remember Ronnie Moran, and just in those early days of making my debut, and I could hear him from the dugout, give it early, and the ball hadn't even arrived to me. But you understand that as you become more experienced, I've got the time, but it's the next player who needs that time on the ball.
Yeah.
So it's get it and give it and move. And it's the move thing which is important.
Yeah.
If everybody stays static,
it doesn't work.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
It stops.
Yeah.
So you have to give it and move. And we became very famous for this movement off the ball. And we only ever did five sides. They were like 7 and 8 sides across a pitch. But if we hadn't done much movement on the Saturday, it would be pass. And when you passed it, you had to move forward, and it becomes so strange. But he went, just do it.
Yeah, and it worked.
And then on the Saturday, everything come to light, and everything. And it was so simple. People come from all over the world to watch what we did. And we played 7 and 8 aside across a pitch, and that's all it'd be on a blank piece of paper, 7 and 8 aside. But there was so much context in that. Is just the simplicity of it.
Yeah, and there's so much hidden learning going on. I mean, I know I was very fortunate when I worked in the Premier League at Leicester City, and he went through this whole EPPP reforms, and it was all taking the size of the game back down to 7v7, 6v6. Mm-hmm. Where in Australia, it's a little bit opposite. They're still doing big-sided games for 11-year-olds, and that's what we're finding. They're struggling with, and we're trying to really educate the players and the families, but also the federation, and it's becoming a hard task.
Yeah, well, when you think that the more smaller-sided games, you get more touches.
100%.
And that's so important.
Yeah.
You can have 11 asides, and it is. I understand that as you get older, but it's all about getting a touch of the ball and getting things right on a repetitive nature. And that's what I was saying about our thing, why it's come so far forward. We're seeing this modern game where you can pass the ball in the penalty box, because we couldn't do that back in the day. And teams now are literally building up from 6 yards out from the goal. But every team now is trying to do what Man City do, Liverpool do, Arsenal do, is literally to just lend each other the ball.
Yeah.
And they control and move, and they play in little triangles, and they move right the way up the pitch. And it's so going back to the simplicity thing of it. And I think it's lovely to watch. A lot of people get bored by it, but I do like watching Manchester City and how they function and how they do it. But it's time and time again and repetitive practice.
Yeah, it's effective. We've got a couple of staff members in Australia who are big Man City fans, and they think it's a new thing. And I said, it's not a new thing. I said, I can remember my dad shouting in the house, pass and move, it's the Liverpool groove. And that's all he used to say.
Well, Ray, just for the listeners here, and I know Pep Guardiola thinks he's reinvented the wheel with what he does now, but back in 1973, 74, when we went on to, I was 20 years of age, Emlyn Hughes and myself became centre-backs, and we were two centre midfield players who ended up as centre-backs. We used to get the ball off Ray Clements, we would give it back to Ray. The luxury was he could pick it up and throw it out the other side. So, but we would go and we would keep the ball at the back, and everybody was going, wow, this is a different way of football. And then we'd push up to the halfway line, playing a very high aggressive line. We had Ian Rush, we had Kevin Keegan who done high press, and we would do, Ray Clements was a sweeper keeper who was 5 yards out of his own box. And everybody thinks, oh, all this is new now. No, we were doing that back in the 70s. And it's what ended up, which was be called the Liverpool way, which is still a mantra now, which our academy still use, and that's what we created. The Dutch, they sort of welcomed that in 1974 World Cup. They did what we were doing at Liverpool,
international level.
At the international level.
Would you one day like to be a professional football player? Would you like to be part of our pro player pathway? What is the pro player pathway? It's an opportunity for all Australian football players aged between 10 and 23 who want to join us to become the next professional football player. On the pro player pathway, you get to join me and my team free of charge to an event all around Australia. When you join me, we're going to teach you the secrets of football in Europe. And one day, maybe, you could be gracing the Champions League final. Guys, over the next 12 months, we're going to be coming around all the major cities of Australia. And when we come around all the major cities, we're going to be running our free events everywhere we go. So guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's a free event. It's for boys and girls aged 10 to 23. And I'm going to teach you the secrets of becoming a top European football player. Oh, and one final thing. We're going to be giving away 20 scholarships to join me on this program of a lifetime.
So when you obviously you started playing football, you said you'd done the move to Kirkby. When was it you really started sparking interest from Liverpool, and what was it like when you discovered it?
Do you know, I find it quite incredible watching players. And when I was with Gerard Houllier as assistant manager, we had our academy under Steve Highway, and they were taking young kids at 6 and 7 years of age, and I was quite, oh my goodness.
This is young.
You know, they were looking to take kids from being a fetus, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and I'm going, this is quite astonishing. I look back at my career and you were 14 years of age.
Is that how old you were?
Yeah. And like the scouts were all watching you. So I used to play for Brookfield School.
Yeah.
I played for Kirkby Boys. I played for St. Joseph's on a Sunday. I played in a five-a-side league. So the guy who was at, of course you were getting watched playing for Kirkby Boys, but a guy called Billy Gamble from Kirkby, who was the manager of my St. Joseph's team, he was one of the head staff on match days at Anfield. He got the then chief scout of the kids to come and see me playing on St. Joseph's pitch. And he offered me to come and train on the Tuesday and Thursday night at Melwood.
Wow.
So it was quite wonderful just to be able to do that, not knowing what was going to come. Yes, I wanted to sign apprentice forms, but it was just to get chosen to come and do this, because a lot of the other boys were Kirkby boys, were all going. I think 2 of them went to Hull, some of them were at Everton, some of them went to Aston Villa, some of them went to Manchester City, Tommy Caton, just after me. So to get picked, you really felt good, and it was Liverpool, it was my dream.
Yeah.
So
it's funny, I went down a journey, I think we mentioned off air before, and about 20 years ago, and I wanted to prove the fact that talent wasn't born, it was made. And I think I've proven that over the past 25 years. And there's a really good book by a guy called Matthew Saeed, and it's called Bounce, and he's a table tennis player. And in this one particular street, there was 7 world-class table tennis players over 5 years come from this street. And they thought it was an anomaly, but Matthew Saeed actually went into research when he retired to realise why. It was because there was a guy from China who moved to the UK, married an English lady, set up a table tennis in a shed and invited the local kids to come in and play with him, and he was a top-level table tennis player. And it's funny, I remember growing up as a kid, and Dad used to roll off the names of football players who come from Kirkby. And it's funny that you say the spaces, the open fields, you had all that, but growing up in places like Anfield and Kensington, you probably didn't, because, I mean, for the listeners and the younger listeners, you can probably roll off some of the names from Kirkby.
Well, like I can do and I will do, but Kirkby became an overpopulated area from all the sort of the inner areas of Liverpool, all moved out to places like Kirkby, all the green fields, as we like to see. It was once the biggest growth in the whole of Europe.
Wow.
Because there was so many young families went out there and were just knocking out these children. So we had a massive sort of explosion of young men. So we had 3 senior schools, Brookfield, Roughwood and St. Kevin's. St. Kevin's was an all-boys school. Yeah, there was a guy who lived around the corner from me in Stoney Road, and his name was Kevin Marsh. And he was then the best player in Kirkby.
Yeah.
And he was an Evertonian.
Wow.
He played for Liverpool. He got to sign apprentice forms. And I can remember he was an Evertonian. And I remember him taking me one of my very first games. And he took me to Goodison Park. And also I can remember there's the bright light. So it must have been a night match. And I was like that. I was sort of blown away.
Yeah.
But Kevin was that player. And I thought, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
But then it started the explosion. And there was great players. There was Dennis Mortimer.
Yeah.
Which is one of the big things in life, which is a good quiz question. Phil Thompson from Kirkby, from Brookfield School, lifted the European Cup in 1981 against Real Madrid in Paris.
Yeah.
The following year, European Cup winning captain was Dennis Mortimer, who went to Brookfield School, who was 3 years older than me. So in that small town, within 2 years,
produced
two European Cup winning captains.
Yeah.
And then we had John McLaughlin, who was Dennis Mortimer's age, who went on to play for Liverpool, played for Liverpool's first team. We had Terry McDermott, Kenny Swain, won the European Cup with Aston Villa in Dennis Mortimer's team. And it was great because a couple of years ago we all got back together. We had a reunion, all ex-Kirkby boys, which was wonderful in the Sweets Hotel in Knowsley Village. And it was wonderful. And we just won the European Cup again for the sixth time under Jurgen Klopp. And lo and behold, I got them to bring the European Cup down.
Oh, that's
so it was quite special. But the number of players and there's so much talent pouring out of Kirkby was quite incredible. A good guy who's no longer with us, Ray Pritchard, played for England schoolboys, went to Everton. Stan Osborne, Kirkby boys with me, went to Everton. Paul McEwen went to Everton from Kirkby boys. So it was quite something.
And it was still a little bit of a flow on as well, because I remember, I think it was like Mike Marsh, I think he was from Kirkby, wasn't he?
Well, I was reserve team manager.
Ricky Lambert,
he went to Brookfield School as well.
So it's strange, because I remember playing down on the AstroTurf at the stadium, and I was never a player. I loved playing, but I was never a player. But I remember seeing Ricky, and he was 2 or 3 years younger than me, but he was taller than me. And I remember thinking, he's got a really, really good chance of making it. And it was so pleasing to see that someone who probably didn't have as much talent as a lot of other players, but with persistence and hard work, he made it to pull that red shirt on.
And I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know, and that was probably his dream to sort of play for Liverpool. Excuse me. Had his glory years at Southampton.
Yeah.
Scoring goals, but you always think, can it?
Yeah.
Will it? Will it ever come along for you to play for Liverpool? And for it to happen, it was like for John Aldrich, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
You know, to do what John did, playing sort of decent class, sort of Sunday league, and then going to Newport, going to Oxford, and then getting that dream move to come and play for Liverpool. So it happens if you dream long enough, but you have to have a passion.
You got to have the passion.
There's something being there, and you might think, well, doesn't everybody have a passion?
No,
it's not.
It's not.
Because I've seen some lazy people who've come and thought they're apprentices or something like that, especially when I was reserve team manager, and thought, you've got ability, but you haven't got that drive to go to the next level.
The next point we're going to talk about, actually, and one of the big things that we really push on, and we just literally spoke on it, is mentality and leadership. I think I'll get you to cover this on 2 areas. One, as a player, but also from your time as a coach with Gerard Houllier. How important is that to you from both sides?
I think it's important as a player trying to make it and having that desire. I remember there was 5 apprentices with me when I went to Liverpool. And of course now I'm still skinny.
Yeah.
Back in the day, 1969, 2 years as an apprentice, I wanted it. I wanted it more. I can remember doing sprints, and our coach, who was Tony Waiters, and his number 2 was Ronnie Moran.
Yeah.
And I can remember doing sprints. And he, after quite a few sprints, and I'd won them all the time, just over 10 yards. I wasn't the quickest. But he said, he's up here. Yeah. He's ready for me to go.
Yeah.
And he said he was sharper off those blocks because his concentration and his desire. And I thought, little things, and I'm talking about it now with you, little things stuck in my mind, and I went, wow, that's amazing. Ronnie Moran, when I got to about 28, I sat down with Ronnie Moran and said, what did you see in a skinny kid from Kirkby?
Yeah.
That was me, which some of the other lads were strong lads.
Yeah.
Felt like Paul Johnson, John Caslin, John Gidman.
Yeah.
For goodness, John Gidman went on to play for Everton and Man United and Aston Villa. I said, what is it that you've seen in me? And he said, Phil, he said, we watch everything what you do. As coaches, it's not just what you do on a football pitch. He says, we watch you, and we watch what you do around the inner circle of Anfield. Because we went to Anfield every single day, and around that corridor, they watched how you clean the baths, how you clean the boots. They watch you how you clean the floor. They watch you how you hung your kit up and how you put it away and how conscientious you. And I said, well, does that make a difference? He said, of course it does.
Yeah, it does.
It says that you will not cut corners.
Yeah.
He says, and if you're in trouble, you're always there to help out. I thought, wow. And when I became a coach, Ray, that was my mantra.
Yeah.
That's what I took on, and I thought, and I was watching the players with beady eyes, the apprentices, and you think, that should be a God-given thing. You're getting an opportunity at Liverpool. It's not always like that.
No.
And you could quite easily see it, and I could do, and see how they were reacting to our instructions and things like that.
Yeah.
Just to come back to the thing which you asked me, Ray, and you said about the likes of coaching with Gerard Houllier and what that was like. That was a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
I thought with Gerard Houllier, who was a school teacher at Allsop Comprehensive School. He was a French teacher. It's an incredible story. He used to come and watch me and stand on the cop as a young teacher, and I used to think, wow. But he never made it as a player, and I used to think, you don't know as much as me. When we were thrown together in 1998, I thought, I know more than you.
Yeah.
My goodness, he was a clever man.
Yeah.
A very good coach, clever coach. And he taught me things.
Yeah.
So although I was a lot older and done a lot more, my mind was wide open. I was blown away with what this fella knew and how he did his coaching methods. And so for us to bring this, and we had to change things from the Spice Boy era.
Yeah.
And we had to change a different mentality because the players weren't as good. They needed better coaching.
Yeah.
And we had to give them that for Liverpool Football Club to progress. And that's what we got through. The likes of Steven Gerrard, the likes of Jamie Carragher.
Yeah.
You know, players like that coming through who listened, who learned, who had that desire to be better people. And I thought it was all what we did. Part of Gerard Houllier and myself, our legacy at Liverpool Football Club.
I think it's a testament to you and Gerard, that season as well, because I remember being on the Cop and I remember being there that day the terrible thing happened to Gerard Houllier. I was in the Cop, but I remember that whole year and everyone's like, yeah, but you know, you won 3. I said, we didn't win 3 trophies, we actually won 5. I said, we won the Charity Shield and we won the UEFA Super Cup as well. I said, what you've got to look at, in all honesty, we hate admitting it, but at that moment in time, Man United and Arsenal were untouchable. And we punched way above our weight, and it wasn't because we were lucky, because you were obviously doing something right on the training ground, getting every single last drop out of them players. And we did it that year.
Absolutely, Ray. And what we do, and I think our modern day Liverpool Football Club should be thankful for Gerard Houllier and that time that he had to impose what he wanted. He changed the whole structure of the training. Out went the 7 and 8 sides across a pitch. This became structured coaching with specific details to help individuals and units, defence, midfield. So this guy changed it. Without him, we might not be in this position today.
No.
Having that foreign influence and be able to change things. We should be eternally grateful for what he helped Rafa. Rafa coming in, what he then implemented was all because of what Gerard Houllier, the likes of Kenny, the likes of Roy Hodgson, and in their short tenures, you know, they all should be thankful, and certainly Jurgen Klopp for what Gerard Houllier actually brought to our football club. And it was the first European trophy for about 16 or 17 years, and you remember it if you went to against Alaves in Dortmund. So there's a generation of Liverpool fans who'd only ever heard the wonderful stories from the dads, from the granddads, going to European finals. Now it was their time, and this was a legacy of what Gerard Houllier left.
People always ask me back in Australia, because a Liverpool fan, what was my greatest memories, and I have to admit, even though the Champions League and the Premier League's the pinnacle, for me it was that year, the Michael Owen smash and grab and the Europa League final.
FA Cup final.
Yeah, it was just, and the funny story was we got on a bus from the Falcon that morning, probably like 6 a.m. to go to Cardiff. Everyone was laughing at me and I didn't know why, and we were actually with John Aldridge and Paul Aldridge that day, his boy. And we were going into the game and I couldn't understand why everyone was laughing at me. And if you now watch the highlights of Michael Owen scored, and you'll see why everyone was laughing at me, because I went in a blue shirt that day.
No!
But ever since when we got into finals, I wear a blue shirt. So on Sunday for the final against Chelsea, I'll be wearing blue.
Oh my goodness. But it was wonderful. Cardiff, we made it our own.
Yeah,
and
it was home, wasn't it? Anfield in Wales.
It was just a fantastic experience. And so it was, to quote Bill Shankly, we made the people happy.
Yeah.
We made people proud to wear that Liverpool shirt going off on the summer holidays. And that 2001, you mentioned it before, we were playing a weekend, we were playing midweek, we were playing a weekend, which went on and on. UEFA Cup run, we played Roma, we played Barcelona, we played Porto, we played Olympiacos.
Yeah.
Now you see some, in that UEFA Cup run, now you see some of the teams, it's nowhere near. That was a difficult run.
It was.
What we did.
I had Emil Heskey on the podcast last week, and I was back in Australia. He was in Leicester, and obviously we've got a bit of a connection because of Liverpool, and also me working at Leicester and him being from there. And we actually spoke about going to Rome away in the Europa League. I think it was the semis that year, and saying how healthy we thought the Italians were going into the game because they all had bags of apples. And we soon discovered the cooking apples weren't to be ate; they were to be thrown at us.
The number of times we had to run and walk the gauntlets, the Liverpool fans, that is, not the players. Yeah. But it was always a tough place to go. And the Batistuta back in the day, you know,
they're
and
a
Totti,
hell of a team.
And Totti, they had Candela, the French left wing back. They had Cafu, the right wing back. Oh my goodness, they were tough. They were skillful. They had everything, and we beat them for goodness' sake.
We did, and we beat them well. I remember it.
But then you come on to my favourite memory. I think you
That's
you
what I
asked
asked
me,
you,
right?
yeah.
And for all the things, and Ronnie Moran, start of every year, the winning the league title was our aim.
Your bread and butter.
Those were the words that he used. That was your bread and butter. And he said, you go and do it. So doing things like that. So to do what I did and win 7, the FA Cup was wonderful. 1974 against Newcastle at Wembley was just a wonder. And I'm 20 years of age. But 1981, on a personal note, to lift the European Cup against Real Madrid in Paris, the Parc des Princes, and me being captain of Liverpool. I'd seen Emlyn Hughes do it in 1977 and 1978, and it was my desire. I believed it was my right to be captain of Liverpool. Yeah. And seeing Emlyn lift those trophies, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I really want to do that. And it was like a promise to myself. In 1981, Alan Kennedy, about 7 minutes to go, scores the goal. And it was a bigger game for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Because we were kings of world football at this time. Everybody knew about Liverpool Football Club. Yeah. And it wasn't a great game, partly because of the pitch, but it's about winning. And I had that great honour of going. And I actually, when the fella actually gives me the cup, because as I get along there, grey-haired UEFA guy, and he shakes my hand, and I goes to get the cup, and you can see him. And he starts lifting it. You can see me with my hands like that. And I'm going, give me the fucking cup here, will you? And you can see, because this is my moment. And where it was, I got all the lads from the Falcon. I was the manager. Ray's talking about the Falcon here. This is a pub in Kirkby, which is a rough area, but it's our rough and tough area. We loved that time being. I was the manager of the pub team from the age of 21 to 33. I got them tickets for all the games. And they were all, I didn't know where it was going to be, but they were all on the upper row, right on the front row, right going across, and they had a Falcon flag hanging off there. So, of course, when I get to the European Cup, that's where I aim it at when I lift the European Cup. Yeah, and you know where it ended up the next night.
That's one of the things I want to ask you, because my dad's told me a lot of stories about this European Cup. Is it true, off the record, did it go missing?
Well, if you want to say it went missing, but listen, the story behind it, Ray, is earlier in the season, the end of February, beginning of March, we plays West Ham in a replay in the League Cup. And it's at Aston Villa's ground. I'm captain of Liverpool. I lifts the League Cup for our very first time.
Yeah.
We'd never won it before.
Wow.
So this is 1981. Phil Thompson gets to lift the League Cup. So you think, well, there's nothing special in that. Gets on the coach, goes back to Liverpool, as we did back in the day, all those lads, straight in the car, straight out into town to celebrate together. So we're in town, comes in the next day, and Peter Robinson, the chief executive, comes up to me and he says, Phil, he says, did you know what happened to the League Cup last night? And I said, no, Peter, why? He says, well, let me tell you what happened to the League Cup. When the coach driver took the bus back to the depot in St Helens and he was cleaning the bus out, he discovered the League Cup on the back seat. So I said, well, Peter, I said, what's that got to do with me? He said, well, Phil, you're captain.
It's your responsibility.
Said, your responsibility. If necessary, you should have took the cup home. I thought, I know where. So fast forward, May 27th, 1981, and I'm thinking, I know where this European Cup's going. It's going back to my house. But first, and I didn't even tell my family in the hotel after the game, my mum, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, I just said, we're going to have a party back in the Falcon tomorrow night, Thursday night. We go, oh, great, son. Yeah, we'll see you back there after the tour around the city. So I told all the family, no mobile phones back then. So when we're doing the tour on the Thursday night, I'm telling everybody, get back to Falcon, get back to Falcon. And all the lads like that are going, yeah, we'll see you back there, Tomo. They've not got a clue what I've got in my mind. So, of course, once we've done the tour, I get the European Cup, put it in this big red velvet bag, puts it in the back of my Ford Capri. Purple one, by the way. And off I went to the Falcon in Kirkby. So you can imagine parking my car outside, getting this European Cup out, going into a packed pub in Kirkby. And I'm like that, and I walks in with the European Cup above my head. Well, everybody just went berserk. There was a queue for the public phone to ring all the mates and all the other pubs.
Get down quick.
Get down here, the Falcon. They were saying, how many pints have you had? No, you wouldn't have the European Cup in the Falcon. So we were all in there. And I remember one of the lads going, and what do you do when you win a cup? You fill it full of ale. So we put about 8 pints in the European Cup, and there was still only that much in the bottom. So you can imagine it. One of the lads from the team went, can I go first? And I said, yeah, fill your boots. He went like that. He lifted it up, but he lifted it, and he lifted it, and he lifted it like that. It was like a tsunami. It was drenched in ale, and we thought, that's a bad idea. So we all had our pictures taken. So about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, I says to everybody in there, I said, lads, girls, I says, get your kids, get your parents, get your family members, get down here to the Falcon at 11 o'clock when the pub's opened. I says, and I'll bring the European Cup back here for everybody to have the pictures taken, because this might never, ever happen again.
Yeah.
I said, so I'll see you here at 11 o'clock. And a great Tomo, great, yeah, see you here. So off I went home with the European Cup. So I've got the European Cup on my sideboard in the bedroom. 9 o'clock, I've only had a couple of hours sleep. I'm rotten drunk. And the phone goes next to me bed like that. And I went, hello. And he says, hi, Phil, Peter Robinson here, Chief Executive. And I said, yeah, I do know you, Peter. He said, Phil, you wouldn't happen to know where the European Cup is, would you? He didn't have a clue. This cup's gone missing. And he says, I've got the world's press. And I've got the world's photographers here at Anfield needing the European Cup. So I thought to myself, well, what do we do? Do we take the European Cup back to Anfield for 9:30? Or do we go to the Falcon at 11 o'clock with the European Cup? You got it right. Yeah. I went to the Falcon at 11 o'clock. We all had our pictures taken. I got back to Anfield about 11, half 11. The reporters were angry, but the photographers, who just wants that quick snap and get off.
Yeah.
They'd be waiting for hours. Peter Robinson was there. I handed over, I couldn't even breathe on him. Honestly, I'd have knocked him out my breath. Handed the European Cup over. He never even asked me what I've been doing with it. So other people over the years have said, a guy called Paul Orr in Kirkby said he took it home. Somebody else said he had it in his house. That clears it up, because it was in my bedroom, on my sideboard in my bedroom.
That's so good. It's so good. And I can set that one straight with my dad when I speak him now.
Hey everyone, we are coming around every major city in Australia over the next 12 months. We have got free objective football testing going on, guys. It's for boys and girls aged 10 all the way through to 18 years of age. The objective testing is quite simple. We'll put you through our 6 tests and I'll give you your results. Physical, technical and tactical. And also, we're going to choose 16 winners to join us on an all expenses paid trip to Europe in 2024 and also 2025. Guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's free to sign up. You get free objective testing and you'll get a free feedback, and maybe you'll be joining me at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2024 or 25.
So we're gonna move on, and a little bit about like reflecting on your legacy and a little bit about your contributions post playing career. And obviously we spoke a little bit and touched on it about your transition into coaching. Was that something when you finished playing you always had in your head, yeah, I'm going to become a coach and do me badges? And if it wasn't, how did it come about? And how did the Gerard Houllier moment come about as well?
Well, I think it was, I'd always wanted to be a coach. Yeah. Coming towards the end of my career, I'd always had this thing in my mind. And obviously I'd been under the great tuition of Bill Shankly and how we played, and how that modern Liverpool was, pushing up to the halfway line, high press, sweeper keeper. These were all in my mind of what I wanted to do, how I wanted to coach. It was rough and tough. If you couldn't take that from and things have changed now, Ray, you can't coach like that anymore. No. But back in the day was part and parcel of it. It was a tough era. But Ronnie Moran was my mentor. Yeah. Ronnie Moran was our driving force. Day in, day out, we could win 5-0 on a Saturday, come in Monday morning. You get nothing for that. Yeah. It's the next match that matters. Things like that were absolutely ingrained in my mind. And not just as a player, to become a better player, but then to be a coach. So I spent my last 18 months at Sheffield United. First few months were on loan, then I signed. And then started the blue. Because I used to train Monday, Wednesday, Friday at Sheffield, Tuesday and Thursday, still at Liverpool. Still at Liverpool. So that was fantastic for me. So got involved a lot of the small-sided games, which was the famous games. And I remember Kenny, after training one day, he said, "Tomo, can I have a word with you?" Coming towards the end of the season. And I thought, I think it was 1986. And I thought, oh, shit, what have I done wrong? Yeah. That was my first thing in my mind. So I remember it was in the hallway at Anfield, and he said, I need to have a word. He put his jacket on, went back into his office. He said, I know things are not great at Sheffield United. I said, well, yeah. I says, why, what is it? He said, well, if you're going to leave Sheffield United, I want you back here at Liverpool. I went, amazing. Yeah? And I said, what? And he said, as a player coach. So I could carry on playing and be a coach as well. And I was only just on 32. Bit early for finishing your career, but I thought, this might never come along again. This offer might go to somebody else if I don't accept it. And I thought, I need to take it. Yeah. So I just sorted myself out at Sheffield United. 1986, I became a coach. All my coaching methods, which were a lot of five-a-sides, but I did a little bit more with my players, because I think they needed that little bit more sort of education, if you want, than what the first team did under Ronnie Moran and Joe Fagan. Yeah, that's amazing. So when obviously we roll on a little bit forward, and then you got involved, and you were really solely involved with the first team. We spoke about it, that whole 2001. How did that all come about, getting involved with it? Well, that was a strange one, Ray, because and it was a great moment in my life. When I got sacked by Graham Souness, I think more for personal reasons than professional reasons, it broke my heart. Yeah. I was a humble reserve team manager. He was having this heart bypass done, and 1992 we just won the FA Cup, but I'd sensed something wasn't right. Yeah. And we'd been warriors together, we'd fought together and battled and won trophies together. And this just out of the blue, I'll be gentle about it, I was relieved of my duties. And I was devastated. Yeah. And I didn't have a proper answer. They said I shouted at the young lads in the reserves too much. That was part of my remit from Ronnie Moran, what I'd had throughout my life. I was devastated. Yeah. And telling my two young boys, Philip and Daniel, that we couldn't go to Anfield anymore was huge. They were crying, why, Dad? And I didn't, at the time, I didn't have an answer for them. They were devastated. They got stick at school, while people winding them up. And I was devastated. So roll on 6 years and having the opportunity to come back, telling my boys, it's the most wonderful experience. Yeah. I'll explain it to you now, but to be able on the morning they were going to school, when I'd been offered the job, was, boys, I told your Dad, I said, I'll be back one day. And I said, well, I'm back. I says, your dad's? I said, oh my God, tears were running in the front room.
Everyone was so excited.
I was absolutely. But how it came about, I was working for Radio City and we were doing the Valencia game away from home. Yeah, so I walked into the bar in Valencia, Ronnie Moran, Tom Saunders and his the two wives sitting there, Gerard Houllier and Roy Evans, the infamous sort of dual management, which was never ever going to work. They were sitting with all the staff up at the far end of the bar having a drink. So Tom got deep into asking me why I'd not got back into management, into any sort of coaching. I said, well, you know, my heart's always been at Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I says it's been extremely hard for me to sort of do that. I enjoy my life at Sky Television, doing what I'm doing. I says, but Tom, that's the way it is. And I thought, that was strange. And Gerard Houllier walked along and they went like that. Tom and Ronnie went, Gerard, Phil, do you know Phil Thompson? He went, do I know Phil Thompson? He said, I used to watch him from the Cop when I was at All Top Comprehensive, as I explained earlier. So we had a quick 15-minute chat. Then he went, so I sat with Ronnie and Tom. So 2 weeks later,
you get the call.
I get the call, and I'm just doing the Masters was just starting, and we as ex-players were just training at the pits, soccer at the bottom of Everton Valley.
Yeah.
And my phone goes, mobile phone, and it's Peter Robinson. He says, Phil, how are you? You all right? He said, and I thought, we'd just been knocked out of the League Cup by Tottenham the night before, and I was on Radio City, and I went into quite a nice rant about how the division between Gerard Houllier and Roy Evans was affecting the team. What they were doing off the pitch was echoing what was going on the pitch. And I give this heartfelt thing, and I thought, he's going to give me a bollocking. I thought, I'm going to... And he went, are you free? And I went, well, I'm just with the lads. And he said, well, can you come to a meeting? I said, I can come up to Anfield. I'm just down the road. It's the pits. And he went, no. He says, the press are all over. Roy's just resigned. The press are all here at Anfield. Can you come up to the chairman's house? So I went up to the chairman's house up in Halsall, and they were all in there. It was like a funeral parlour. They were all sitting there and all dead solemn, all the directors. And so Peter Robinson said, Phil, we've been here, we've changed, Roy's resigned, and he says, we'd like to offer you the job as assistant manager. He says, we've been talking about what this club, this team needs. We need somebody who's going to stand up to the Spice Boy era. The players are running the football club. We need somebody who's going to help Gerard Houllier and do what he does, and to help him, a better coach, an aggressive, a passionate coach, blah, blah, blah. And he says, Tom Saunders went, gentlemen, I'm listening to what you said.
Yeah.
And the man that you need to bring back is Phil Thompson. Yeah. He says, so Thomas put your name forward, so we'd like it. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, and at this moment, I thought, I'm back. So that moment of getting sacked by sort of Graham Souness and him not believing I was loyal was knowing that was his decision, not the board's decision. Them now want me back, vindicated everything what I was doing. I was doing in my life.
Isn't it ironic, if you stick to your values, that you always knew what you were doing was right? That was what brought you back. It was those values, and that's like what we impress on our players, is if you stick with the right intentions, it will come good eventually.
And I think you've got to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody, and we all think that we've all the right ideas. Those ideas and that stuff comes with experience, right?
Yeah.
And you'll know as you got older, coaching and trying to teach people, you do get better with age.
Yeah, you do.
And to impress upon them, me as a 28-year-old player trying to help an 18-year-old Ian Rush just coming into the side is massive. And they then learn off you. And it's for the kids, the better ones, to take all that knowledge and try and help them become a better player, because that's what's made us better people and better players. And it's so much, some take it on, some don't. Some look and go, ugh. And a lot of them go by the wayside, and it does happen, believe me.
Yeah.
So it's so much, listen to your elders, listen to your coaches, and take out the good things of what they are trying to impress on you all the time.
All the time. So we've got to wrap up in the next 5 minutes, but just two quick things to finish on. So we roll on from a very, very successful period with Gerard Houllier, and I was very, very fortunate to be on the Cop and watching them games and seeing us win all them trophies. But one of the big things I've loved as well is we try and encourage all of our players in our programmes that there is life past being a player, and also you can't just be a player for your whole life. that you can go into routes like coaching. But also one of the big things that I think many people don't realise is that you've done it on the pitch, you've won all the trophies on the pitch, you've done it as a coach, but also you're probably one of the most likeable people on the TV and the media. And I've always loved watching you, and even like people back in Australia, they comment, like we go to the Liverpool supporters club in the Gold Coast or Brisbane, and it's like, I think that's what people don't realise. There's a job even in the media. Is that obviously something that you've loved doing?
Do you know what, Ray? And it was lovely if you think back, telling my story. 1992, getting sacked by Graham Souness. What happened in 1992?
Yeah.
The Premier League started.
Yeah.
The Premier League started. Sky started. Lo and behold, Phil Thompson starts getting calls from Sky, Richard Keys, to go and work. And it was like just a small group of people who they used for a lot of their programmes. The Boot Room on the Thursday night became so popular. So I was getting all these calls. I was working with George Best, for goodness sake.
Amazing.
And then in about 1994, 95, the Great Soccer Saturday started. So in the early stages, a young Phil Thompson was with Rodney Marsh, was with Frank McClintock, was with George Best. I sat on the same panel with George, had nights out with George. I can't believe my luck in my life of what I did. But then Soccer Saturday evolved, because I came back to Liverpool in sort of 6 years, going back, then with Charlie Nicholas, Paul Merson, Matt Letizia, Jeff Stelling. Jeff, the best presenter by a million miles. So there is something there. The media has become this vast thing with so many more people now opened up to the girls, the ladies, the women, and it's become this big animal which needs feeding all the time.
All the time.
But it's not just that, Ray. You look now at football clubs. There's analysts galore. There is masseurs. There's physios. There's just a little stuff. My son now, who's an A&E doctor, he's part-time doctor at Liverpool's academy.
Wow.
So the Thompson name
is still there.
Lives on. So, and I think they would like him, but he's about 15 months away from becoming a consultant. And I've told him to get his consultancy first before he looks to follow his dream. But there's so many jobs. As I say, physios, rehab coaches, things like that. But the analysts galore. There's video technicians to go through matches, players, everything. The coaching side of it is huge. And then you've got the thing which is a football club. Yeah. And if you're not there as a coach or that side of it, the other side, which we have Chapel Street, 3 floors in Chapel Street of Liverpool, you've got ticket and you've got merchandise, you've got so many departments. There's huge. An opportunity for everybody. So football has given so many people so many more opportunities.
Yeah, it is, and that's one of the big things. Our programme to finish off that we run out of Australia, we're taking into the Middle East and into the US this year, is the professional player pathway. But it's also opening up all those different avenues, because I've been very fortunate, and I think I mentioned it was a conversation I had with you when I was 16. I think you'd had a couple of beers. And you were with me, Uncle Brian, and I remember you having a conversation, and it was that first bit of advice you gave me that it was like, Ray, you could go into coaching, you could do anything. And I then went on and I look back and I think I did do a little bit of coaching for Liverpool in the community. I then went on to work in the USA, in Hawaii. I coached at Leicester City. I coached at PSG under Ancelotti. And I'm like, and that was all due to a conversation over a beer at the Falcon Pub. And
there's so much more to life, Ray, and honestly, there's so many opportunities for you youngsters to grasp. But like being a footballer, and we'll go back to the early stages, you've got to want it. Yeah. You've got to believe in yourself, because the opportunities are there. I used to lecture at Liverpool University, and it was and they could gain a degree at the university to go on. I think it's MBA, I think it was called.
Yeah, it was an MBA.
And they could get a degree. All these people going to work for UEFA, FIFA, in ticketing, in sponsorship, in administration. They all went on. And do you know where they come from? Kazakhstan. They come from Singapore. They come from the Americas. They come from all over the world to be in Liverpool, to do their studying for 1 or 2 years, to be around the home of Liverpool and Everton Football Club. Yeah. But they all walked away with all kinds of degrees in different parts of football. And I used to get sort of emails from them saying, now I'm working at the top level in UEFA, for goodness sake.
It's crazy. It's funny, I remember being super proud of Liverpool, proud of being from Kirkby and Anfield, but wanting to get away. But it's ironic, in my 40s, my whole life has switched around where I'm here 8 to 10 times a year, bringing Aussies and Americans here, and they all want to be here. And one of the dads said to me, he's an Aussie, and he's like, Liverpool is the school of football. And that he means that from an Everton and a Liverpool and a Tranmere Rovers perspective.
Absolutely.
We do a bit of work with Tranmere and with Mark Palios, the owner, and it's brilliant. To finish off, Phil, we could be here for hours, and I think we might get you for a second one in the next few months if it's available. But one final question, if there's one key message for any youngsters, boys or girls out there who believe it's not possible to make it as a professional football player, can you give them one message? That
my one message, it was whichever path that you look to follow, is be the best that you can be, whatever you choose. And that is it. Grasp it, take it. There's so many opportunities for you people now. And I think just follow your dream. Give it your best shot in those early years of your lives. You don't know what can be there, because football in general is the most wonderful sport in the world.
Thank you, Phil. So we're going to encourage all of our listeners and followers. We've got more exciting podcasts to come. We've got some exciting news about what's around the corner this year as well. So hopefully, guys, remember to like, comment and share these podcasts, and it's a good way of as we can bring this free to you all around the world and have great people like Phil Thompson on. And a big thank you to Phil and from me and everyone at Euro Football Star for joining us, Phil.
Right, thank
you very much. It was amazing to have you. And we'll be in touch very soon, and we've got another Liverpool legends and great coming on our next episode, and we can't tell you who it is, but watch this space.